Okay, this session we're just going to talk a little bit about CleanSweep and a few of the maintenance items around that and what to check or watch out for. So first is we want to replace our filter every year. This is an annual replacement, not too expensive item. So be sure to do that on all CleanSweep compressors, both the standard and high volume and any of the CleanSweep compressors available. I do want to take some time and a little bit of time here and just explain how a CleanSweep cylinder works. So if you energize this port right here, it's going to extend the RAM. If you energize this port, it's going to retract the RAM. So it's a two-way cylinder, and right in the middle here, like where my thumb is an O-ring that's inside that cylinder. And dirt introduced into the system is very bad news for that O-ring. So that's why we want to try to keep our lines clean. And if we break a fitting or break a line, we want to repair it as soon as possible to keep dirt out of the system. Because once that O-ring gets compromised, you get blow by or pass by into the other circuit. So, and there's a way you can kind of check for that. So I like to charge my system up and shut the tractor off and then listen when it's quiet, listen for leaks. Sometimes you might experience hissing in the cab coming out of the back of the CleanSweep control box. And what's happening there is, say we put the down circuit lever, you know, up to 100 psi or whatever, and one or multiple of the cylinders are passing air through that O-ring, and it's going into the lift circuit and coming back around up into the cab and bleeding out the cab box is what's happening. So that might be because of one really bad cylinder, or it might be because there's all the cylinders are leaking just a little bit, causing it to hear that hiss in the cab. So you can check also for each cylinder individually. And so the way you do that, let me grab this here. The way you would do that is you would unhook one of the air lines on all the cylinders. So let's just say that we charge the down line and we unhook the air line on the lift side on all the cylinders on the planter, and then you go along there and put your thumb over the top of the fitting for a few seconds and release. And you'll feel it. You'll feel the buildup on your thumb. If there's a slight leak there, and you'll hear it when you release your thumb, you'll hear it. Psst, psst. It'll hiss at you. You know there's a little bit of blow by coming through the cylinder, and a little bit's okay. That happens. It'll happen over time. But if a lot of cylinders are doing a little bit of leaking, it can cause your compressor to run a high percentage of the time, and eventually it'll burn your compressor up. So just be aware of that. You can, if you are getting some blow by and you don't want to replace the cylinder because there's no repair kit or anything for the O-ring inside, you can drop some heavy Lucas oil or air tool oil, heavy oil of some kind in there, and fire the RAM back and forth a couple times to get that distributed within there to try to swell the seal and get by another year. But you're going to need to replace the cylinder eventually. What else? Check the rubber boots. This is an annual inspection. These rubber boots is kind of the first wall of defense to keep air out of the out of the internals. So I've got here's one we took off of you can see that there's cracks and splits. So be aware of that these are replaceable. They sell these individually. So that's this will probably be the first thing that you replace on a CleanSweep system. And I think that's it. This CleanSweep cylinders they sell now do have these heavy duty fittings on them. They're nickel plated brass. So they've gone away from the plastic fittings. The plastic fittings work well in some cases and not so well in others. So some row cleaners on some planters, the radius of the air line coming into these fittings is very, very tight, and it puts fatigue on the plastic cylinder or the plastic fittings, and the teeth can get fatigued and start leaking around the teeth that hold the air line in, and the elbow itself, the plastic can get fatigued and end up breaking eventually. So they've gone away completely from the plastic fittings, and it's only the nickel plated brass fittings available. They cost a little bit more, obviously, but it's worth it in the long run.